Hello, everybody. My name is Jason Creel, and I am live on YouTube. And you may be watching on replay, but welcome. This is something I do from time to time. We go on here and do live Q&A and just take your questions. They can be lawn care related, about your own lawn, about your lawn care business. If you're new to the channel, I've been in the lawn care business for a while, but I used to mow grass. Now I do weed control and fertilization. I live in Alabama. And it's cold today, even in Alabama. I think it was maybe 14 this morning or 15. I don't know. Too cold to be out working on yards, that's for sure. So I'm at home working on other opportunities that I have and taking care of some of those things. But, excuse me, had some blood flying in the way. Of course, important day, Martin Luther King Day, and also President Inauguration Day. So a lot going on, and I'm thinking some people probably off work. So I thought, well, it might be a good day to get on here. It's been a hit or miss year for me. I get all excited, I guess you'd say excited, not like my blood pressure goes up too much, but fairly excited to start a lawn care business the way it's been going with my weed control and fertilization business. I do that. I've got a few hundred customers, and I work by myself, and I do the social media stuff. And I've been able to finish usually by Thanksgiving the last few years, and that was the case this year. So from Thanksgiving to New Year's, I'm off, and I start back on New Year's Day sometimes. And I'm usually pretty excited because I've been, not sitting around doing things, but not doing yard work. So I get myself motivated, and I want to get out there and make something happen. But this year we've had 2 weeks ago was super cold. Last week I worked a good bit, and then this week's looking like I'll freeze out basically. So the way this 2 week works, I'll talk about some different topics, and if you've got questions, feel free to post them on the side, and we'll go through the questions, and we'll stay on here. Sometimes we stay on here an hour, and sometimes it's 30 minutes. So we'll just see how it goes. If you guys have a bunch of questions, we'll talk longer. If you don't, I'll go do something else, eat lunch when we're done. So, but yeah, it's been a challenge with the weather, and this time of year, that's kind of the way it goes a lot of times. And then, I use ride-on machines sometimes, but when the yard is so soft and wet, we had snow last week, and so it just is what it is, But when it gets up to 50 degrees, it is actually a pretty good working temperature for out spraying yards. I've been spraying my pre-emergent and post-emergent combination on lawns, mostly Bermuda and zoysia is what I'm dealing with, and trying out some different things this year. I'm using a product, what's it called? Samara, which is a generic form of SureGuard. And I'm out spraying that on my Bermuda yards. Real curious to see how that's going to work. Hopefully they're going to be cleaner looking this spring and summer, but time will tell. And then spraying prodiamine on my zoysia yards primarily. So as far as what other stuff's going on, I always like to thank my sponsors. I'll mention a couple of them. I got Yardbook. It's, of course, the software I use to run my business. You can sign up for a free account at yardbook.com. Gram spray equipment. I've been using my gram spray rig and had to have it winterized at the moment to try to keep things from freezing on it. So if you need a spray rig, go to gramsc.com and check out their options, or call them and talk to the guys over there and let them give you a quote and put something together for you, and then customize what you need. Other thing I've tried to mention lately, and this is an affiliate link I have too, is a company that I use for my website. People ask a lot of times, how do you get customers? Well, a lot of times it comes through my website, and it's called Footbridge Media is the company I use. So you can Google that, Footbridge Media. When you go to their homepage, if you scroll down the very bottom, there's a link that is my Lawn Care Life logo. You can click on that. And the reason I mention that is sometimes when you get a website, you got to have them build your website for you, and that might cost a few $1,000s depending on who you use, or you can try it yourself. But then you got to pay somebody a lot of times to do the search engine optimization to help you rank on Google. This company does it all for you. They just work with service industries. You can go look at my website, alabamalawnpros.com, and see the website he built for me. But they build your website and do search engine optimization. They do other things too, but that's what they do for me. The normal price is $249 a month. With my link, it's $199 a month. So if you go to that Footbridge Media homepage, scroll on the bottom, click on the Lawn Care Life page there, and you'll get the $199 rate. But you can call them, talk to them, and tell them you need that deal. So they've been great to work with. I've been working with them for a little over 2 years now, and it's worked out great. So last thing I can think to mention, or maybe last two things, we are doing the Lawn Care Life Conference again. I've got some great sponsors on board this year. Chris and Ferris are our two main sponsors last year, and it looks like they're both coming back this year. So really excited about that. Milwaukee Tool has provided some more giveaways. I just received those. I think I've got I'm trying to remember. It might be like it's either a pole saw or a pruner. I got a blower, and I forget. Anyway, I hadn't opened the boxes, but they sent me some great stuff that we're going to be giving away. Just ordered some other promotional things we're going to give away, but we've got a lot of good speakers this year. My friend Paul Jameson will be there. Of course, I'll be there. We've got Alan Hayne, the Lawn Care Nut. We've got Andy Mulder. If you follow him online, he's up in the Midwest and does landscaping. Has been real successful in building a debt-free business. And then we got a guy named Brandon Gray who's coming. He goes around the country speaking. He's like a financial business coach guru guy. So he's going to be joining us. And we're selling VIP tickets this year as well. Sorry, my nose running a little bit. VIP tickets gets you, you come early, you get a special lunch. You get, I think it's 3 to 4 hour extended time there with Brandon Gray, who's, again, our business coach. And the idea behind this conference is to be the most actionable conference, meaning we don't just rah-rah. And give you an example. I hear people talk all the time, and I say, I'm tired of hearing this. Know your numbers, and know your numbers this, and know your numbers that. So I don't want anybody tell me that until they can explain it in layman's terms, how to do that, what to do. So that's what the Brandon Gray guy, he's going to give us some actual numbers and metrics to help you understand your business. So I'm excited about him. And again, for the VIP people, he's speaking 3 or 4 hours, and then he'll have another time where he's speaking to the general audience as well. But that's me, and that's what I'm doing. This year, I'm hoping to pick up some more customers for my lawn business. My idea is I'm not trying to grow real big, to be honest with you, but I do want to continue to pick up yards in the neighborhoods I'm already saturated in. So I think for me, it's just being excellent in the weed control and fertilization business. I think it's a situation where your reputation can really spread, especially in a smaller town. My town's got about 25,000 people, but it's small enough where these neighborhood Facebook pages, they start recommending people, and the quality means a lot. So I try to deliver quality results, not skimp on the products, and continue to build my presence in neighborhoods I'm already established in, just to continue to improve my efficiency, my route density, to be more profitable. So that's what I'm doing this year. The other thing I'm doing a little different this year on my program is adding in a insecticide. So I'm probably going to be using a Celiprin Extra as a product that's out there now in May or June, and to try to help with chinch bugs, armyworms, grubs, all the above. I think it even helps with ants and things of that nature. So part of the changes I'm making in my program. But what's going on with you guys? If you got questions, I'd love to answer those. If you don't have questions, then we'll make it a short visit, and that's fine too. I've been editing videos. Other thing, I'm putting together a course that's new this year. I traditionally have targeted business owners with my courses. I got the Weed Control and Fertilization Academy and other things at lawncarelife.com. But I'm putting together a course on how to basically take care of Bermuda and zoysia lawn. And it could be for business owners, but also a homeowner that just want to know kind of what the professionals do. But it's a video course. Not it's downloadable documents, but also talking through insects, on through fungus, on through how to calibrate fertilizer, difficult weeds you're going to deal with. Of course, going over a program, different program options for Bermuda and zoysia lawns that can be helpful for you as well. So, well, this is unusual that nobody's asked a single question yet, and that's fine. There's usually somebody asks a question by now, so I'm going to run out of things to talk about pretty quickly. Well, there's a football game tonight. I'm not watching that probably because Alabama's. Oh man, what in the world? There's a football game tonight, and Alabama's not in it, so it basically doesn't matter who wins. Hopefully, it will get a double forfeit. This is my friend Rourke. He says, "What if I have a militant insects in my yard?" What's a militant, Rourke? Militant meaning real aggressive, I'm assuming. Not exactly sure what you mean by that, but Rourke, I'd spray Rourke's yard, so he has absolutely nothing to worry about because he's hired the absolute premier professional in all of Alabama to take care of his yard. He says militant means angry insects. So, yeah, I mean, there's angry insects. I think I will, on a serious note, especially in zoysia yards, which is what Rourke has. Like this year, I had a lot of problems with chinch bugs. A chinch bug is a tiny little thing. It's like the size of the head of an ink pen, probably. They're a little black or brownish color, and they got little white lines on them, or where they're. Anyway, they're a real pain, and they can kill your grass. And I saw more chinch bug damage this year than I've seen in a long time. That's part of the reason that this year I mentioned I'm going to switch over and start using the Celprin Extra in my program as to deal with the chinch bugs. And armyworms are a big deal in the Bermuda yards. They don't typically mess with the zoysia yards. But the good thing about the Celprin Extra is it can kind of be an all-in-one solution. Gives you help with the chinch bugs, help with the grubs, help with the ants, and also, of course, give you some protection for armyworms, which again more applicable for the Bermuda yards. All right, Rourke, good to hear from you. I think you said before about treating Dallas grass and other weeds with a post-emergent during the winter. Does the temperature matter when I'm applying it? What should I use? That's a great question. Yeah, the temperature I think does matter. I mean, like on a Bermuda and zoysia yard, the premier product that I know of is Tribute Total. Now it's expensive, but that's what I use. A bottle of it costs $300 something, maybe $400. It goes a long way. I mean, for spot treating, it's not that expensive. But I understand for a homeowner, that's an expensive product. I mix that Tribute Total with Dismiss both at the high rate. Now, Tribute Total, they'll say, the Bayer people, who's now InViews, the ones that make it, they'll say something like this. They'll say, well, we want to spray your Dallas grass in October, then spray it again in November. And if it still hangs around and survives that, you can spray it again the next spring when it shows back up in March. And usually, I mean, 3 applications, I think, will kill it. I think with 2 applications, with adding the Dismiss in there, I've seen it to die. Will die with that. And if it's a Bermuda yard and it goes dormant, and like last week, let's say we're up in the 50s several days in a row, the Bermuda grass is still dormant, but the Dallas grass is starting to have a little green to it, then I will still spray it with glyphosate in the winter. Now, I do that on top of spraying it. But what I found is usually after 1 or 2 apps in the fall, I would say it's your ideal time with the Tribute Total. And if you mix the Dismiss in there, usually after 2 apps, it's basically dead by the winter. So I've seen some yards that had a lot of it. I actually saw one the other day. I was prepared to spray it with glyphosate, but there was almost none Dallas grass left because I just had hammered it last time I was there in the fall, and it really did a great job. So that's the strategy. But warmer day obviously is going to work a little better. It's on an icy day. It may still work. It's just going to be super slow. But yeah, if you can get some warm days, get some green up in the Dallas grass, that would be better. Any experience with hydrogel? I'm having a 500 square foot of Xeon zoysia put down. The hydrogel is supposed to cut water by 50%. I think I've heard of that, Chuck. Maybe somebody else can comment about that, but I think I've heard of it, but I don't know. I've never used it. I don't know if I've ever seen it. So I'd love to hear somebody's experience by that. The Xeon zoysia if I remember, that's a little bit wider blade. When I've got Zorro zoysia in my house, I believe, and then a little bit of emerald zoysia. But I think I had a customer one time that had Xeon zoysia, and I think, if I remember correctly, thought highly of it. But yeah, I mean, the zoysia, you got to water it a lot to get it through the first summer, because it's pretty tough to keep it alive. Not keep it alive, I'm just saying it's going to need a lot of water. It's real slow to take root, especially the first year. So you're going to have to water it a lot to get it through. And I tell people, like, I had a guy last year had zoysia put down in the spring, let's say March, and then he hires me in April. And I said, I'm not going to spray it basically at all until for a while, because it was a lot of sod and it looked great. And it was watering like crazy. It had nut sedge and other weeds popping up in it. But I said, I'm not spraying this. I'm going to wait. And so I finally sprayed it in the fall, for the fall pre-emergent. And I was told him, I said, if you can just be patient. And this year it's looking great already. So it's brown, but I'm just saying I feel great about it, but I had to wait a little bit, because now Bermuda, it's going to root a lot faster, and I feel a lot better about spraying it a lot quicker. But that's just my own thought on the zoysia. Brown's Quality Lawn Care. Jason, I'm in South Georgia. What can I do to keep wild Bermuda from spreading into my centipede lawn? Man, that's tough. Especially in a centipede. I'll say this, and he's saying wild Bermuda. There's common Bermuda grass, which I think is what he's referring to. And it just, I tell people, it grows in every cow pasture around here. You could go, I got an overgrown field next to it. If I went and mowed it down and started spraying it, I imagine how a common Bermuda grass would be there, and it would look decent. It's not as thick and lush as a hybrid Bermuda yard, and it doesn't look as good, but it will grow and spread. Typically, when you have centipede and Bermuda side by side, let's just say you got centipede and your neighbor's got Bermuda. Typically, the centipede runs over into the Bermuda instead of vice versa. So, maybe you're saying it's already happened. I don't know. But in my experience, typically the centipede's going to win out in that battle, which is what you're wanting to do. Apart from that, I don't know if there's a product that can get it out. There is a product, and this name slipping me, I heard him talking about last year, that will get Bermuda out of zoysia. But I've got a strong feeling it's not going to be labeled for centipede grass. And it's one of those deals where it's probably expensive. So it's like, from a business standpoint, and I'm not saying it's what you're asking for, but how many of my customers have Bermuda grass blended in with their zoysia and going to pay me to come do some special app that may or may not work, because I've never seen it, to get their Bermuda out of zoysia? I love the idea. It's just kind of like, I didn't buy it because I was like, how many times am I going to get to use it? I got a few customers that I'm sure would like to get a little patch of Bermuda as a zoysia, but centipede, hopefully the centipede is just going to win out, because I don't know of a chemical solution. Should I treat the whole lawn with Poa annua? Okay, this is Chuck. So Chuck's putting down the zoysia. So Chuck, I guess what I need to know is, like, is this stuff you just put down, or is this like an old patch of zoysia that's got the Poa, or is this brand new zoysia that's got the Poa? If it's brand new, just recently sodded, or even sodded in the fall zoysia, then I wouldn't treat it for anything. I wouldn't spray it for Poa. I wouldn't treat it for nothing. If it's established zoysia and you've got Poa and you want to get rid of it, yeah, there's several options. You can wait until it dies out when the weather starts warming up. That could be April or May before it goes away. But yeah, there's a lot of the Tribute Total we talked about. The Revolver's probably the best product I know of. Again, it's going to be kind of expensive. Celsius, I don't know what you have. Celsius can help. Certainty can help. Katana can help. There's a product called Negate that's not terribly expensive. You could use for the actual bottle, because some of these products are cheaper per application, but you got to buy like bigger quantities of them, which I know can be expensive for a homeowner. So yeah, if you want to get rid of it, there's definitely options. Revolver's the best, but not necessarily the cheapest. But if it's new sod, I wouldn't. I just let the POA have its day until it, next year spray a pre-emergent in the fall, and you shouldn't have it. When someone calls about their yard, what's your process for diagnosis, and explain them for what we would be needed to get the tract to becoming weed free? How to set the customer expectations. That's a great question. I love that, because I think that's something I've improved in a lot. I'm not saying I do it perfectly, but I was coming from a mowing background. So when you mow the grass, what's the expectation? The expectation is, I'm going to show up on Thursday and mow your grass. And then I'm going to show up the next Thursday. And guess what? I'm going to mow your grass again. And that was the expectation. The expectations were, hey, if it rains on Wednesday, I may be behind today, so it could be Friday instead of Thursday when I mow your grass. But weed control, it's a lot different, because when you get to talking to people, what I found is people's expectations are all over the map. I mean, I'll go to somebody's yard. Let's just say I get there in February and they've got a yard full of henbit, which is a cool season weed, broadleaf, easy to control. It's got purple flower. You see somebody's yard in the spring, it's got purple flowers all over. And I'm thinking, this is perfect, man. I wish all new customers would call me in February. I mean, what a great month for new customers, because where I live, I'm still early enough where I can spray a pre-emergent, the prodiamine, which is cheap, to get ahead of any crabgrass. It could have been a yard full of crabgrass last year, but if I can spray that pre-emergent in February, then they're going to have almost no crabgrass, likely. I mean, it's going to do an unbelievable job controlling that. And if they've got a bunch of henbit and all these, broadleaf, easy control weeds in their yard, then I'm going to mix in a post-emergent with it's going to knock all those out. And so point is, I might talk to that customer and they're looking at it and say, oh, they'd say something like, oh, I know it's bad. It's probably going to take at least a year to get it straightened out. And I'm sitting there looking at it thinking, this yard, and give me about 3 weeks and it's going to look a whole lot better, because all these broadleaf weeds are going to die. I will talk to them in that situation. Let me just give you an example. Let's say we're in February or even March, whatever, and they've got POA all in their yard. We were just talking about POA with Chuck, POA annual. And I'll tell them, I say, listen, you got this POA, you see this little green, and I want to show it to them. You see this little green grassy weed? It's called POA annual. What I'm going to spray today is not going to control the POA annuals, because in that situation, in my mind, I'm thinking I don't want to mix in an expensive product that's going to control the POA annual. I'm already going to they're going to be so thrilled with all the weeds that are going to die within a few weeks. And I tell them, if you can just live with the POA, it'll go away soon. But next year, you shouldn't have near as much, because we're going to get on a schedule and spray pre-emergent. So you see what I'm doing? What it takes, in my opinion, is I want to look at the yard, and depending on the weeds, it all depends on the weeds. And that's where your experience and your knowledge comes into play. Because let's say I go to that same yard and I look, and it had crabgrass for days last year, and I can see all the dead crabgrass plants from last year, but it's mid-March or late March or early April. And they look at it and they're like, oh, look at it. We've got the same weeds, the POA annual, you got henbit and purple dead nettle and hairy bittercress and yellow wood sorrel and all the same, people that show up all the time. And they want to know, hey, what's the deal with my yard? And I'm at that point, I'm nervous, not actually nervous, but I'm concerned. I'm really trying to explain to them, because what I'm thinking is, listen, I'm already late on my pre-emergent. That crabgrass is already germinated, likely. And what I'm going to have to spray, I can spray, the pre-emergent. I can use Dimension, or I could use what I do now. I spray prodiamine. I mix in quinclorac with it, which is the post-emergent for crabgrass. But it's not easy to control. And so in my mind, I'll spray it, and it'll 2 weeks later, a bunch of the broadleafs are gone. The POA dies out when the weather gets hot. And then what happens? June, July comes around, and they got crabgrass. Now, the crabgrass may be damaged and half yellow looking because I sprayed it with quinclorac, but it's a little bit hard to control in that situation. And the dreaded words that you hate to hear as a lawn care professional, even though you try to explain it to them as best you can, is, oh, it looks worse than when we started, because now they got a yard full of crabgrass. And if they had just called me in February, the greatest month of all time to start a lawn care, or maybe the second greatest month would be September or October, where I can spray the fall pre-emergent. So you get what I'm saying. I want to look at the weeds. I know that weed will go away in 2 weeks, or that weed's going to be a problem. They got in the middle of summer, it's a whole lawn full of just everything. I mean, it's like, sometimes I encourage them. I said, let's just start in the fall. You got crabgrass everywhere. Hey, I know it looks bad. Let's just start in September, and it'll look good. So a long answer, but hopefully that made a little bit of sense. I live in it, but to go back to that, it's very important to explain to them everything about when I'm coming. It's not always on a set schedule. I tell them I'll be there usually about every 6 to 8 weeks. I ask them, do you need me to notify you before I come? If so, I can text you. If not, I'll just show up. There'll be a yard sign. You'll get your credit card on file, get charged at the end of the day. Try to explain all those things. Answer their questions before they even ask their questions. Dan says he lives in Atlanta. Emerald zoysia sod late a month ago. We got 3 to 4 days in a row of the teens. Will it survive? Also got the usual survivors of weed after teens. What's the best 2,4-D? Now that's what I was kind of talking to Chuck about earlier. Is like, I wouldn't spray anything on it. Will it survive? I can't say for certain. My friend James is on here sometimes. He said he knows a sod farmer who says after November, it's yours. Basically, he can't guarantee if you put sod down in November or something. So, if you put sod down in December and it has very little rooting, I don't know. It's just hard to say, because I've seen it that it would be a year-old sod zoysia, and we get a cold winter, and it really struggles to come out the next year. And you think, man, that's a year old, but then it eventually recovers. So hopefully that'll be your situation. I mean, I can't guarantee anything, but I saw a house down the road is probably close to $1 million home, and they've got zoysia similar to you. I mean, they probably put it down a month ago, a lot of it. And I was nervous for that situation. I was like, man, I hope that grass lives. So for your sake, I hope it does. I just can't make a bold claim that it's going to work, but I wouldn't spray 2,4-D on it. I wouldn't spray anything on it, to be honest with you. I'll just get it rooted. And like I said, if somebody lays sod in the spring, sometimes it's on a zoysia lawn. Sometimes it's the fall before I feel comfortable spraying anything. If it was rooted this summer and you had some nut sedge, you want to get out there and spray some pro sedge on or something, I think that's fine. Eric, will snow and ice kill the junk carpet grass growing in my St. Augustine lawn? That's a good question, Eric. And I think the answer is no. And one thing I've always wondered, and I think I asked this one time, but I probably didn't listen to the answer, to be honest with you. But my question was, if crabgrass germinates, let's just say in March in my house, there's crabgrass germinated, and then late March it goes down to 23. Why does it that 23 degrees kill the crabgrass that's just barely germinated? Because you know what I'm saying? Like, why doesn't it, like, oh, it sprouted up, and then we got that hard freeze and it killed it off again? And it's almost like the nature's way of killing it. But it doesn't seem to work that way. And carpet grass, it'll survive. You can use the product we use for carpet grass is Celsius, and it does work very well. And you can use Celsius on the St. Augustine lawn, but I would wait till it's green, wait till April or May, and spray it with Celsius. And it may take multiple applications, but that's an excellent product, not just for carpet grass, but I've heard people say carpet grass kind of looks like it's the leaf blade is not as wide as St. Augustine, but it's a little bit wider than centipede, and so you got to make sure if you think you got a centipede yard, you go out there and using Celsius as your post-emergent to kill weeds, make sure that you got, sure enough, a centipede yard and not a carpet grass yard. Because if you're out there spraying carpet grass with Celsius, it'll kill Chuck says, "Old Bermuda." Okay, so Chuck, going back to Chuck, Chuck's got POA in his old Bermuda. I mean, yeah, we talked about if it's Bermuda and it's dormant, you could even use glyphosate. I mean, anything you use is going to be slow. Revolver, he's trying to kill POA out of Bermuda. Then, even if it's glyphosate, if you just go through there and spot treat, then what happens sometimes is the area you sprayed the POA in, I've done this, so I know it'll delay the green up sometimes, depending on when you do it. Now, if it's super, super dormant now and you don't go with a crazy high rate, it probably won't, but it's going to be slow to die. So sometimes what I'm getting at is it might be better just to spray the whole thing if it's not that much grass, which it sounded like it wasn't, instead of spot treating just a little spot of it with glyphosate, just in case it does delay the green up. Because I've seen it where it had a big patch of POA and I went there and sprayed it with glyphosate, and there was a big patch that was a lot slower, not a lot, but 2-3 weeks behind turning green in the spring, and it doesn't look great. Okay, Darren says courtesy hedge trimming, and the customer asks you why you didn't do it again. Yeah, that can be tricky. What I think he's saying is maybe he's out there mowing the grass, sees the hedges, a little bit of hedge trimming needs done, and so he just has his hedge trimmers and just knocks it out real quick. And now the customer's expecting that all the time. I think, you got to just be clear on that. You say, hey, I think even the first time you do it, you could say something like, I probably wouldn't do it for free, to be honest with you, just because I think customers tend to want things for free, especially if you do it for free. But if you're going to do it for free, I would explain that it's for free and that, hey, next time here would be the price to do it. I'd be happy to take care of this for you in the future. We could do this 3 times a year. The price would be $80 or whatever, $20 or $100 or what, $20 won't get you very many hedge trimmings, but so maybe that would be a better way. And sometimes people, even today's society, you could text a picture of your customer's hedge trimming. If they don't ask you to trim the hedges and you see they need trim, text them a picture of it. Say, hey, I'm happy to trim these hedges for you. Here's the price, and text them a picture of their own yard. All right. Thank you for the why should you not use a guard on your trimmer. Actually, same when it comes to debris, and I can see more of the work area. Yeah, I've got a video on YouTube, and one of the most watched videos I've ever done on YouTube. I think it's got almost 2 million views. But it's 5 reasons not to take a guard. 5 reasons to take the guard off your trimmer. And in turn, I did 5 reasons to leave your guard on your trimmer. Because at the end of the day, people make their own decisions, and I don't. Me and a lot of other people that do lawn care for a living don't use guards. A lot of people do use guards. So for me, you can see better. You still, of course, need to wear as much protection as I wear glasses and all that, but people want to wear a face shield, whatever they want to wear it, But anyway, he's thanking me for that video. Oh, Kevin's helping me out here. Recognition and Fusillade 2 for Bermuda and Zoysia. Yeah. Thank you. That's what I was trying to think of. So earlier we were talking about getting, getting Bermuda out of centipede. And this was what I was trying to think of. I think it's FMC's products, but Recognition and Fusillade 2 is a combo you can use to get Bermuda out of Zoysia, I believe. Okay, so that's, thank you, Kevin. All right. When a customer asks about weeds in the flower beds with the bushes and shrubs, do you have a chemical that's best for tackling weeds without harming shrubs? Yeah, what I'm using, like you can just go in there and spray glyphosate, which is Roundup, and you can do that, and that'll kill it. It doesn't keep anything from coming back. So if you want something cheap, you can do that. What I do, I mix that with SureGuard or a generic version of SureGuard, which is called Samara. There may be other generics out there, but the glyphosate, let's say I got a 4-gallon backpack sprayer, which is what I used to do. I'll put 2 ounces, not 2 gallons, 2 ounces of glyphosate per gallon of water. So in a 4-gallon tank, let's do our math here, 4 gallons times 2 ounces, so 8 ounces goes in the tank there. And then it's just 1/4 ounce of the SureGuard that goes into the tank. And what that does is greatly help on keeping weeds from coming back. Now, in the South, our grasses run into the bed like Bermuda grass. It's just running into the beds. And you might use a string trimmer to try to keep them out of the beds. It's not going to keep that from happening. But when you spray it with a glyphosate, you can kill whatever runs in there. But you got to be careful on that. You spray as close to the beds, close to the shrubs as you can without getting on anything. And if you're going to use the SureGuard or the Samara, which is the generic version, then you don't need to spray that. If you're going to plant annual flowers, let's say you got this little designated area you're going to plant annual flowers, don't spray that. You spray the glyphosate and then plant the flowers later. But if you spray the SureGuard, it's going to make your flowers not grow. Is what I've been told. So don't do that. But around shrubs, spray it. I do it 3 times a year with that combination because I'm charging my customers to do it. But it's typically March, maybe again in the summer, June or so, and then again in September timeframe. And it works unbelievable. 60 days until spring means February is around the corner in your area. In my area, do you scalp your yard first so the pre-emergence can get around? No. Good question, Dan. I don't. Sometimes I'll scalp it in March. I think, if you're talking about a Bermuda yard, if you scalp it, it's probably fine. Okay. It's most likely it's fine if you scalp it anytime. But you probably are increasing the risk of winter damage if you scalp it and you got just more exposure to the roots and then you get a really hard late freeze. It's probably fine, but that would be the reason not to do it. And I mean, at the end of the day, you can scalp it in December, January, February. It's not going to green up, you scalp it in early March or so, and you're going to probably be as green as if you scalped it in January. You know what I'm saying? It's just not going. You can scalp it in January. It's not going to turn green in February. It's just not warm enough. I mean, where I live. So, I remember you in Atlanta. So, I don't see the rush to just get out here and do it, but I do like to scalp it the first time of the year. And what I do, because I've got a lot of Bermuda, and I don't bag it or anything. It's just I've got several acres, but I will. Let's just say it's at 2 inches at the end of the year, maybe. My mower goes down to 1.5 inches. Let's say at the end of the year it was at 3 inches. I might go out there and mulch leaves one day in November and get it down to 2 inches or 2.25. And then I want to get it to 1.5 inches. That's what I like to do in the spring. Now, as the summer goes on, I have to gradually raise it. I might cut it if it's at 2.25. I might go to 1 3/4 the first time I cut it, and then let's just say that's in early March, and then maybe I come back late March or 2 weeks later, and I get it down to 1.5 inches, which is as low as I can get it. And at the end of the day, what you're doing is just getting rid of all that dormant grass, just making it go away because the Bermuda is going to put up new growth from the ground there. So you just need that stuff to get out of the way, and you allow the sunlight to warm the roots so that it can, make stuff green. Regarding POA pre-emergent control, why do you never promote Dimension? I use it to control POA. It does a wonderful job. So I don't use Dimension anymore. I've used it before. In my mind, when I think of Dimension, it's usually like the way it's always explained to me is if you're late on your pre-emergent for crabgrass. So in my situation in Alabama, let's say it's mid-March. I think crabgrass already germinated. The Dimension can work both as a pre and a post-emergent on crabgrass. So if you've got baby crabgrass, hopefully it's going to kill it. If it hasn't germinated, then it's good as well. But maybe what you're saying is that it works pretty good in the fall if you spray it in September, October to get ahead of your POA. And I don't hear people talk a lot about Dimension that way. People talk about Coastal, which is a combination product. People talk about Spectacle or just straight prodiamine. But yeah, if it works, then use it. That's great. I've never tried that. But where are you located? I'm in Alabama near Birmingham. Syngenta's recognition controls Bermuda grass in St. Augustine. Okay. I'm not sure if it's labeled for zoysia. If I remember correctly, it's pricey. So he's saying So you look up that. Maybe whoever was asking about getting the centipede or Bermuda out of other grass types, look up recognition or Syngenta. Okay, I said FMC, or I think it's Syngenta. Recognition and Fusilade 2, and read about it. I think there's information on their website. Some combination of that. Use one to do something, use combination to do something else. So there's the ideal basically that, getting one grass out of the other. It's hard to do, but that's what those products were designed for. They are expensive. Thank you. Thanks, Eric, for watching the show today. What are the pros and cons of using liquid versus granular? Okay, so that's interesting you asked that. My friend James and I were recording a video the other day for the course I'm creating on Bermuda and zoysia, how to take care of Bermuda and zoysia lawns. And I had my friend James Bartley's been on the show, and I asked him that very question, got him to explain on the course. And so what I've noticed, and I'm in these Facebook groups, that people that have cool season lawns, more so of them, there'll be some of them that'll use liquid fertilizer. Almost nobody with where I live uses liquid fertilizer, warm season grasses. And I think the way James was explaining, I think this made a lot of sense. Well, let's say one pro of liquid fertilizer would be you can mix it with a herbicide at the same time. You can fertilize and kill weeds at the same time because you could mix it all in the same tank. So I think that's good. So a convenience factor. I think the way James was explaining was with the liquid fertilizer, to get the amount of nitrogen that you're wanting to get to really make our warm season lawns green, which takes more nitrogen, I believe, than the cool season lawns, you risk burning the grass by having to put out the rate that you would need to put out. Where on granular fertilizer, especially a slow release granular fertilizer, you greatly reduce the risk of burning the lawn and to put the more nitrogen out. And the other with the slow release fertilizers, the liquid fertilizer is typically not going to have the longevity. So on a slow release granular fertilizer, and I'm planning on doing this year, I could literally fertilize somebody's yard in April, and that's it for the year. I mean, depending on the rate and the type fertilizer and all the things, I could do it one time for the year. Where a liquid fertilizer, it's not going to last that long. So that's the main thing. Again, but for cool season lawns where you have this maybe shorter growing window in the spring and then another shorter growing window in the fall, you don't necessarily need the longevity. You could fertilize it with that liquid fertilizer in the spring, mix in there your herbicide if you want to do that, and you're fertilizing it, but you only need it to last a couple months, and it kind of goes halfway dormant during the summer when it's hot, and then it perks back up as the temperatures start cooling off, and you could do it again. So it makes sense why. I'm not saying more people in cool season grass use liquid versus granular. I don't know the answer to that, but more people with cool season grass use liquid than people with warm season grass use liquid, because most of the time people with warm season grasses don't use liquid. I know it's not that they don't use it all. It just seems rare. What's good to control weeds and moss in a fescue lawn? See, I deal with warm season grasses. So fescue, I'm better at telling you how to kill fescue than I am how to help fescue. But I mean, a lot of people, just a product comes to mind. People use tenacity as a product. I hear people talk a lot about, but again, I'm speaking to somebody that doesn't do that. Change Up is a product that I use a lot for broadleaf weeds, and I believe it is labeled for some cool season grasses as well. So you could check out that, but it's depending on what weeds you're talking about. Those are just kind of for broadleaf weeds, I believe. I'm not sure about tenacity. Moss, what we say is the moss typically grows where the grass doesn't want to grow, and I think that's true. Now, cool season, in our situation, warm season grasses, that's on the side of a house, the north side of a house, doesn't get much sun, maybe stays wet, the air conditioner drains over there, and it's just doesn't drain well, and it's just grass not going to grow there. So you got moss, and it's like you need to change the what do you want to call it, the circumstances of that situation so grass can grow. That's why the moss is growing. So it's there's probably something out there to kill the moss, but then you basically got dirt. Where cool season grasses typically seem to be much more shade tolerant. So I don't know. There may be a product out there, but moss where I live is usually just not a good sign for the health of your lawn. What can I use to control yucca? Somebody gonna have to help me with that. What's yucca? Is that a weed? I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not familiar with yucca. What are your thoughts on using herbicides and pesticides for a lawn program when you have dogs? I have 2,000 square foot lawn and spend a lot of time outside. Yeah, I think, on all products, this is a good reminder. We got to follow the label. So I'm aware PPE, rubber gloves, rubber boots, long sleeves, pants. And I think just about every product is going to have some kind of label on it that's going to give you some instructions on that. But typically the language, and I don't want to be specific when you check yourself on whatever product you're using, but typically you want to wait until it's dry before re-entering the lawn. And so that would be my at least basic recommendation, but more specifically is follow the label for the individual products you're using. Do you ever mix triplet and atrazine for cool season weeds or spray them separate? Yeah, I do mix them. Like right now, if I'm spraying a zoysia yard or Bermuda, a lot of times I'm putting triplet and atrazine and then prodiamine for the zoysia, or lately I've been using the generic SureGuard for the Bermuda. So once the grass starts turning green, then usually going to take the atrazine out. It's not labeled. I think once it starts, Bermuda and zoysia start turning green, you take that out. Sometimes I wonder if the yards are like super, super clean and you've been taking care of a yard for years and there's not many weeds. Do I necessarily need both in there? And I find myself in that situation sometimes taking out the atrazine because I'm thinking, what weeds am I seeing? And sometimes I might find a random dandelion that's growing in a shady spot on the edge of the lawn, or you might see some henbed, purple dead nail, something like that. But I'm thinking, I think the triplet's going to get that without the atrazine. So if yes, I do mix them, but sometimes I'll end up taking atrazine out because I don't know that I'm getting a lot of extra benefit if the yard is already super clean. Now, atrazine is something that we'll spray on our centipede St. Augustine lawns this time of year because you don't use triple on those, but you can use the atrazine, and it can be slow but effective. In addition to POA control, I like to mention because it's labeled to control Lespedeza, which is my second worst weed in my lawn. Well, yeah, that's great. I wasn't sure on Lespedeza. Sometimes is it an annual or perennial weed? Maybe the dimension will kill it. I don't know. Change Up's a great product for Lespedeza, and if you're not familiar with it, it's I guess, comparable weed with spurge, but they're not that similar. But they have same size leaf, I guess you'd say. But the Lespedeza is a lot woodier plant, so it's a little tougher to control in my experience. So a Change Up is a product that can knock it out. But yeah, that's great, and I appreciate you sharing that. Dan says, besides making sure you have enough pre-emergence, what are you doing right now and getting ready for the new season? Well, I'm working through, I felt like I did this more in the fall, kind of working through some changes I was going to make. I'm probably not going to use Spectacle this spring. It's something I've done in the past 2 or 3 years. I have used Spectacle, and it made a world of difference, to be honest with you, with especially Kalinga, with Chamber Bitter, maybe Spurs, but that still seems to show up later in the summer. So this year I'm trying in round 2, what I want to do is spray my own version of Echelon, which is, I'm sorry, that's incorrect. So I'm already using pre-emergent round 1. So round 2, I'm probably just going to go with basically my own version of Blindside. So that high rate of dismiss. And what I'm trying to do, like Echelon, they is prodiamine and dismiss, and they say to give you a 100-day guarantee on sedges. So it's probably not going to kill the sedges, but give you a good burn down so you don't have to deal with them for a while. So I'm going to try to do that in February on into March before the grass starts turning green, and mostly because I'm concerned about the discoloring the lawns in April and May when they're already green. So that's why I'm trying to do a little bit early, even though best practices would probably be more like April would probably be a better time. But again, you're increasing your risk of burning a lot. So that's one thing I want to do, and then come back around 3 and do a slow release fertilizer is my plan. And this year I'm probably going to use Celsius and Certainty a lot in my yards, but I'm also planning to use Southpaw is a new product that New Farm came out with, and it's got the same active ingredient as Certainty in it, but it's also got dicamba. It's a good broadleaf grassy weed sedge combo product that's all in one bottle. So I'm going to try to use that some. I like to keep learning, try things new, and if it doesn't work as good, I can go back to doing what I was doing. But I think I like to experiment a little bit. Not necessarily out of boredom, but I want to just see for myself out of curiosity more so. I'm afraid of growing my business too quickly. It's my first year as a solo business. It's growing quickly. I'm also currently have a full-time job. Any suggestions? You're in a tough situation, Sam. I think that a lot of people have been in your shoes. I say tough. It's good. A good problem to have. It'd be better than not growing at all. I don't know your financial situation. If you have the money and you feel very confident it's going to work, you can quit your job and just go for it. Or if you're not have as much money saved up and you don't want to be as risky, then you could just basically work like a crazy person for a while and working your full-time job and it's doing whatever you got to do to get the lawn business done until you just almost can't do it anymore, and then make the jump to full-time. So that's really on you. Or the other option is, hey, you like your full-time job and you just want to keep it small, then go up on your prices and be real selective on which customers you take on. So you got a few options there, but at the end of the day, it's your choice. What do you kill Dallas grass with in the summer? Dallas grass, like I said, I use Tribute Total and high rated dismiss. High rated Tribute Total, high rated dismiss. But to me, it's the best product I know of. It's unbelievable. If it don't kill it in one shot, it makes it have a really bad day, and a lot of times in 2 shots, it's dead. You charge extra for sedge nutgrass control. I do not. I know there's companies out there that do. I don't know of any of my competitors that do. I feel like that would be a turnoff to my customers and to getting new customers. And if I just ignored it and the yard had all this nutgrass, I don't see how I could do that, to be honest with you. But I just include it. But I am trying to be strategic on how to control it, because there's certainly they're a problem for sure. Let's see. Should you mix change up and prodiamine on February pre-emergent on Bermuda line? Yeah, you certainly can. I mean, some kind of post-emergent in with the prodiamines, your pre-emergent. So yeah, change up's one option, 16 ounces per acre. You can use triplet. Depends on what weeds you got in your yard, what products you have on your shelf. But yeah, change up's great. I use it to blanket application. You need to mix in a 1/4 ounce per acre of metsulfuron. It makes it even better. So 16 ounces of change up, a 1/4 ounce or maybe a 1/3 ounce of metsulfuron per acre. So, a 1/4 ounce per acre of the metsulfuron, which is Manor or MSM turf. It goes a really long way. It's dirt cheap, but it's very hard to mix in a spot treating situation because it's just a tiny, tiny amount per acre. Let's see. Thanks, Jason. Thank you, Sam. Does that fish on the wall talk? No, I caught that fish more than 20 years ago, I guess. So he doesn't talk, but this is my new office. It's not perfect, but it beats the laundry room, which was my previous filming studio. So do you let your home grass grow tall in the fall or have a nice protection over in the winter dormancy? Yes and no. I don't give it a lot of thought, because even my Saint, I got a little patch of St. Augustine, which is I'm kind of far north out of St. Augustine where I live, and it's got a bunch of leaves will pile up on it. Well, November comes and I'm out there blowing leaves, and I find myself blowing all the leaves off of it. And I think, well, should I just left them on there and helped it protect it over the winter? But then I find that I blow them off and it got down to 9 degrees and it still comes back. So I don't give a lot of thought, but yeah, I think that probably does protect it to some degree, but I don't worry about it. Would you use spectacle foam Bermuda now for spring application? when I was using Spectacle, I was doing it in April was my timing, and that was great. It helps with doveweed. Maybe not if you have a problem with doveweed in the yard. It seemed like the first year I did it on the doveweed yards, I didn't notice a huge difference. The second year, significant difference. Third year, significant difference. And definitely made a huge difference on other weeds like Kaleemia and stuff. So, like I said, I'm trying to not use that this year. I'm going to use the Dismiss, hoping that will do a lot as far as controlling the sedges at a cheaper price. And also, I've got a product for doveweed. I don't have that many yards that have a problem with doveweed, but there's this product called SurePick IQ that's a doveweed product that I've been told will kill it in one shot. So it came out last year. I've got some, have never used it. So I'm ready. My doveweed yard, I want to spray with that. And I hope it kills it in one shot and make a YouTube video out of it. Is getting a turf and ornamental license hard? Thank you. Depends on what state you're in. Alabama, you got to take a test and pass it. Passing score is a 70. It's 50 multiple choice questions, so you got to get 35 out of 50 right. It's not easy. I don't think you can walk in there without studying and pass it unless you know more than I do. A lot of people fail it multiple times. But that's essentially what you got to do is pass the test. Other states like Florida, Mississippi, and probably others, you got to have 3 years experience or college education in a certain field. So there's a lot more steps depending on your state. You can check with your state's Department of Agriculture. To use insecticide fipronil for fire ants, I'm debating Durantis over acelepryn for growth control. Yeah, I was reading the other day about that because I'm planning on using the acelepryn extra this year, and people I was reading in a forum or in a Facebook group, people were saying, check out Durantis. So that was kind of the debate, which one was better. And I forget, people were saying pros and cons of one over the other. But I don't know the answer. For my fire ants, sorry, I'm about to sneeze. Excuse me. Fire ants, I offer that as an extra service to my customers, and I typically use Top Choice, which is a once a year restricted use product. And if I do get a call back, I'll use Advion fire ant bait, and that is also an excellent product. And that if I do that only, I'll use it maybe twice a year, or if end up getting ants after the Top Choice. So that's what I do. So I haven't given a lot of thought to other options, but this year I'm going to try the acelepryn extra. So. Guys, this has been a lot of fun, and thank y'all for so much participating. We started off slow. My friend Rourke come in asking about militant insects in the yard, and it got everybody going, and we had a good conversation 57 minutes in. So thanks for participating, and if you hadn't done so, subscribe to the channel. I'm hoping to have a big year on YouTube. Got some things in the works. If you want to come to the Lawn Care Life Conference, please sign up for that. Go to lawncarelife.com, click on the conference link, February 21st and 22nd near me. If you want to get a weed control and fertilization, you got the Weed Control and Fertilization Academy. Also got the new course coming out with teaching people how to take care of Bermuda and zoysia lines. I think it's just going to be a $59 course. It's a video course. I'm excited about that. And then if you want to get your website SEO done, go check out the Footbridge Media I mentioned earlier. Go to Footbridge Media website, go to the bottom and click on the Lawn Care Life link. It's $249 a month to build your website and do your SEO. But if you use my link, it's an affiliate link, it's $199 a month. So you'll save yourself $50 a month. So appreciate all the support, and we'll see you guys next time.